Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel for this latest video on Redfish, my North American layout. In this video I describe the latest progress on the layout, covering improving the engine shed by adding some lighting and painting the brickwork, wiring up the track and adding some backscenes. So in the first video we ended with the track laid, and so the next step was to then wire up all the track. As I wanted reliable slow running on this layout, I've added droppers to each section of the track, which has mostly been soldered to the bottom. The points are Pico Unifrog, which come with a small little wire to connect power to the frog. And if you don't wire that up, you're left with this small section of track that isn't powered. What I found is for long engines, so with multiple pickups, this isn't really a problem. But for short engines, it can be, and particularly if you're running slowly. And so I'm going to wire these up as well. So these are connected to a switch at the side of the layout, which changes the polarity, because obviously if you change the switch, you need to change the polarity for it. At the moment, I've got one of them wired up, which seemed to be the most unreliable, the one that caused the engines to cut out the most, but I plan to wire up the rest in time. I've been updating the fiddle yards I use for my scale model scenery micro layouts. Originally, I was using these thinner boards, which are sold as fiddle yards or dioramas, but because they're not the same width as the main board, they don't always fit reliably, I found, and you have to drill additional holes to get them to align, because they're a slightly different width. So yeah, they're not they're okay. They're not perfect, and so what I've done is I've ditched those and got myself some boards that actually are the required width. I think these are sold as extensions to the main board, to the main boards. But yeah, these now align pretty much perfectly. And so I've got two of these, one a right-handed one and a left-handed one. So the left-handed one is the one that I use on Hardendale. The right-handed one is the one I use on Preston Street. And this got me thinking: could I add another fiddle yard to this layout, to kind of increase the operational potential? So having a second fiddle yard, I should have kind of trains arriving and departing from a different direction, which I thought might be a bit interesting. It could also mean that I can run longer rakes arriving, and also have wagons coming through the repair shed, which I thought might be a bit interesting. So yeah, that's all set up and ready to go. Um, the car shed has now been painted, to make it look a bit more realistic and less plasticky than it did originally. To do this, I painted the whole of the brickwork in a yellow acrylic, making sure to get the paint down into the grooves between the different bricks to kind of represent grouting. And once that was all dry, I then dry brushed some red enamel paint across it, and this is the final result. So yeah, it hasn't worked 100%. As some of the red paint has got into the grouting, but yeah, it's not bad. But I think honestly, this technique's maybe better in kind of larger scales. But yeah, I'm glad I tried it, and I might use it again. Also in the car shed, I thought with these really large windows, it would benefit from some internal lighting. And so I've added some simple yellow LEDs that have been wired through the beams and connected up. I temporarily ran out of solder when I was doing this, so they're kind of connected up with terminal blocks. Solder will probably be a neater solution, but it's all at the top of the shed. You don't really see it, so you don't really see the mess. But in terms of the lighting themselves, I'm really happy with how that looks. And with the lighting and the open doors, your view's kind of drawn into the shed. And so I thought I'd add a back scene to the shed itself. Um, so yeah, behind the shed and also behind the low relief shed windows. I found an internal view of a modern engine maintenance shed, which I then resized in Inkscape to fit behind both sheds. And yeah, looks quite good. Behind the low relief windows, when I got the image behind there, I did think it was maybe a little bit bright to begin with. And so I tried darkening the images slightly, using Inkscape. But having tried them out, I think I prefer the original, particularly when the main shed's illuminated. I think the brightness is fine. For the main back scene, for the rest of the layout, as I showed in the first video, I was trying out this Rocky Mountain back scene. I think it's from ID Backscenes. But having tried different portions of the sheet that I got, I've decided that it doesn't really suit the layout. The perspective against the mountains at the back and the trees doesn't quite give the impression to me of kind of a valley bottom, which is where I expect my car repair shed to be. And so I've been looking at alternative options. So my current favorite is this one that I found as a free PDF download on Scribd, which I quite like. It sort of reminds me of one of the original prototypes I was looking at, which is a layout in Butler, Pennsylvania, of the Buffalo and Pittsburgh Railroad Yard. It's a bit of a shift from the Midwest that I had originally sort of imagined this layout to be in my head. But the Great Northern, which I got the engines for, and I also treated myself to a Burlington North engine as well, who took over the Great Northern, kind of operated from Chicago to Seattle. So there's plenty of places on that route that I can imagine a sort of deciduous trees being beside an engine shed. And to round off the latest progress on this layout, I've added some modern hard standing to the foreground, again inspired by that Butler yard, to which I'll be adding a roof, but I'll talk more about that in the next video. Hope you've enjoyed this latest video on Redfish. If you did, please leave a like or a comment. Consider subscribing, and yeah, I'll see you all next time.
バスが開始とございました。乗車口にてお待ちください。7名と934号新宿駅到着です。